2, 1, and we're live. What's up? How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm on an 890 jump. Can't complain.
So the very first question I'd wanted to ask you was, what is the best pizza place in Victoria?
Oh, 900 degrees.
What do you
Actually, I
mean?
can say that with very little hesitation. It's a restaurant called 900 Degrees, and that's what they cook their pizzas at. It's brick fired, like more traditional kind of European style pizzas, like Italian style pizzas, and their dough is just unreal. It's so good.
Man, I've asked this question to like I swear 100 people, and I've never heard this place before.
Yeah, it's
Like
out in Langford, so it's probably one of the reasons. But it's similar to like what's the brick fired place down
Brickyard.
off of Bay
Brickyard?
Street? No, it's not
No,
Brickyard. Brickyard's just drunk pizza.
that's true. Yeah.
um, I can't think of it now. There's another wood fired place off of Bay Street. Uh, it's similar, but in my opinion, better. It depends though. Like I like a lot of different kinds of pizzas, so you'd have to kind of like clarify that question of like American style or like traditional Italian style, brick fired, or I'm drunk coming home from a bar.
No,
There are a
it's
lot of
really
answers to that question.
no, that's really stuff that's really important. You know, I gotta get that stuff out of the way. So, what's it been like with your Corona experience so far?
Well, technically, my job is an essential service, and I wasn't at any particular risk because I operate in a truck by myself. But I got a little bit of a cold like a week back, and they just basically were taking no chances, and they said go home and stay home. So I've pretty much been avoiding going stir crazy by streaming until my eyes bleed.
Yeah, you found that you find like streaming really helps out with a lot of that. Like,
Well, I don't know. Like I don't have a lot of panic built up around this whole situation. I think that, like it is obviously something to take seriously. I wouldn't say that I have like a frivolous mentality towards it anymore, but I'm definitely not one of those like panic buyers who's going out and like stocking up on canned goods because I think the world is going to end or like we're all going to die. I think at least where we are right now, if we maintain just kind of, the relatively good social distancing and hand washing procedures, we'll probably get through this just fine. So yeah, I'm just streaming mainly because I'm bored and I like it, not to negate any sort of stress or anxiety around the situation. I realize I'm speaking from a position of privilege because like we're definitely not in a city particularly that's particularly hard hit. So I but from that perspective, yeah, I don't I'm not particularly worried about the situation. Um, and again, I have to acknowledge my privilege also in that like I'm a municipal worker, I have a steady job. I'm not losing my job over this. I'm not losing my house over this. So, I definitely will acknowledge that there are people out there who have reason to feel stressed and be anxious about the situation. But I'm not particularly. I'm not in that situation myself. So.
and it's been crazy here. I don't know. I got like this big tinfoil hat conspiracy theory because I don't know. It seems like our government's like padding the numbers or something. Do you notice that at all?
Padding the numbers.
Sorry, not padding. I shouldn't say padding. It's more like they're not. Well, they're not testing. I found in British Columbia. So like, I don't really think that the numbers they're giving us are very accurate.
Well, I mean, possibly. You're right in that the people that they're testing are the ones that are like in dire enough need to warrant testing. But I don't think that's any particular secret. The numbers that they're showing us are very specifically confirmed cases. I think it's at least from my perspective it's not it's pretty much acknowledged that there are likely far more cases out there, but you know, but as we've been told, most of the people who have this virus will only experience mild symptoms. Mild in the medical sense, by the way, which means that basically you can go about your, excuse me, daily life relatively uninterrupted.
Man, what crazy times we live in. I
Yeah,
bet.
well, yeah.
No, go ahead. What?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think honestly, I think this is even if this isn't the end of the world, as some people are seem to be treating it. I think this is a good thing to get used to. We have to be willing. w- I think it's a good wake up call, because this could very well be something far more serious than what it is. The current R0 numbers on this put it at something like 2.5 or something like that, which is pretty infectious. But to put it in perspective, like the measles virus is 13, which means that one person on average will infect 13 other people. Uh, like this is an infectious virus, but it's not the worst out there. And as far as the actual severity of the illness itself, I mean, you have the numbers showing like 80% of people that are infected with this virus will experience, like I said, mild in the medical term, uh, uh, symptoms, which is that's pretty good. It's not like it's a crazy airborne super infectious virus that kills everything it touches. So
Yeah, it's not like
as
Ebola, right?
yeah, like as much as this is obviously something to take seriously, I think it's a good wake up call for global society on the whole, because this is a situation that we should probably figure out how to deal with in case it happens, and it's a far more serious um scenario than it is. And again, I just want to be clear for everybody listening right now, I'm not trying to downplay this. I'm not trying to say that it isn't serious. I'm just saying I'm glad that we're kind of in a situation where we're able to experience this and not have it be some crazy death bug that's laying waste to entire cities. That's all
I
I'm
was
trying to say.
I was reading about this like zombie virus caused by deer
Hmm.
in I think it's in Michigan. Well,
Hmm.
I think it's almost like an epidemic. It's happening all over. Have you heard about this before?
I don't know. There's a few different zombie
Isn't that
style.
weird? There is numerous zombie viruses, aren't there?
Yeah, well, the ones I know of are mycelial. So they're like a mushroom, like a fungus that causes kind of like an apparent takeover of the host's nervous system. Mostly you see it in insects. There's a mushroom that infects ants on the forest floor in the leaf litter, and it basically takes over their brains, tells them to climb to the um, highest possible vantage point that they can get to, and then kills them and spores out of them, and you know spreads its spores down into the forest floor again.
Stuff
Uh,
of stuff of nightmares,
yeah, pretty
truly.
much. Yeah, yeah,
It's like we can't even make this stuff up. Like nature just has its own way of
yeah.
horrifying, creating horrible ingredients. What do you think?
Nature, scary.
Yeah, no doubt, right? What do you think about? Do you think that it came from these wet markets? Have you heard about that much?
Oh my
Oh no,
god.
is this a can of worms?
I just like, oh my god, like I Westerners and especially North Americans seems to think like they're the pinnacle of sanitation and the pinnacle of cleanliness and it's just, I'm sorry, but it's just not true. So, like everybody who's out there saying it's the fault of these wet markets and stuff like that, I don't know if I could swear on here, but I'm gonna anyways. They're full of
Do it.
shit. Like let's yeah, I'm sorry, but like I don't know how gross you want to get here, but like North American bathroom practices are disgusting compared to a lot of the places around the world. Like I'm sorry, but wiping yourself with a dry piece of fucking paper does absolutely nothing for down there.
Hey, that's a big
You know,
business now. That's a
it
real
is.
business now.
Sure it is, but I don't know. I guess my point is like, yeah, it very easily could have happened in the Western world is what I'm saying. Because like it or not, humans are gross. It doesn't wet markets aside, it's yeah, I'm sorry. I just think everybody who tries to pin it on some particular cultural practice of China is delusional.
Oh, I'm not
Isn't
gonna
this
argue with
supposed to be
that.
a Star Citizen podcast? I
I
feel
don't
like I want to
know.
stir up your audience and get them all like
Yeah, let's
ragey.
let's stir them up. Let's. Oh, come on, the Star Citizen people ragey. I can't. I would
Oh,
love
you're
to. I would love to have responsibility for that one, but my God. So you've been how long you been streaming now for? It says less than 12 months.
yeah. I I don't even know. Also, I just got kicked out of our server for idling. So I'm only halfway on the 890 jump now. Um, when did I start streaming? Yeah, a few months ago, basically. And I got into it basically because I literally knew nothing about stream culture. I knew nothing. I very rarely went on Twitch, and I just kind of was of the opinion that what, like I'm playing this game. I like talking to people about this game. I might as well just stream it. So I did. Um, though from when I started, I did kind of have some very specific, excuse me, kind of goals in mind for where I wanted to eventually go with the channel. But yeah, no, I have not been streaming for a long time at all. But I've been having fun. I think the main thing. Sorry to say to continue with that. I think the main thing, one of the other things that mainly contributed to me even starting was just like I have been a ravenous consumer of Star Citizen podcasts and of other YouTube content creators for I don't know, like a long time, a few years, anyways, and it's funny because like I find myself having like I listen to podcasts while I work, and I'd find myself like almost having discussions in my head with the people who are kind of hosting the podcasts, and that kind of desire to actually be involved with other content creators or just be involved with other fans in general, and discussing it was kind of part of my rationale for for getting into this as well. Just I like formats like this. I like getting on and just talking with other people who are passionate about Star Citizen and speculating and whatever else. So that was kind of the other thing that kind of spurred me into that. But no, I have not been going for long, but I've been having fun while I've been doing it.
Have you been doing any like? Have you been a part of any other gaming communities, or what kind of game activity did you get up to before or Star Citizen?
Yeah, I've been pretty into MMOs, and I've s- like a lot of my gaming experience and a lot of my experience with other communities kind of did involve I don't know, like raids and guilds and stuff like that. So most of my experience is kind of with community engagement anyway. Has been with kind of MMOs and stuff like that. Um, I started playing online like when I was I don't know in my early teens, kind of. But back in the early days of the internet, there was not a whole lot for real kind of community involvement surrounding games like there is now. It was much harder to kind of connect with people, but I did play with a couple clans in like Alien versus Predator,
Oh man,
and
I remember
um, yeah, it was so fun.
that.
Uh, Tribes, I played
Oh,
Tribes
tribes! Yes,
in a clan.
that's awesome.
Um, what else?
Yo, do you believe that tribes is
MechWarrior
like?
3.
Do you believe that tribes is like the grandparents of Fortnite?
I don't know. I would say it's more of the like. I would say it's more of the sire of like the mixed um um, what's the word I'm looking for? But like Battlefield style games in general. I would say it's more similar to Battlefield than than it is to Fortnite, at least from what I've experienced. Because there was relatively limited like construction capabilities in Tribes, for example. There was a little bit, but not to the extent of like Fortnite and whatnot. Though to be fair, I haven't actually played Fortnite, so I actually can't really truly answer that. Just from my experience, it seemed more like a Battlefield style, like what Battlefield was inspired by. Um, Combined arms. That's what I was thinking. That's the word I was looking for. Because you had heavy emphasis on vehicles as well as class based first person shooter combat. Large, especially for the time, incredibly large maps.
So was that? I don't know. Is Tribes considered an MMO? It's not really an MMO, I
No,
guess.
no, no.
But was that? What was your first MMO?
My first MMO was actually a game called Priston Tale.
I
It's
never
like
heard
it
of
was
that.
like a Korean style grinding style MMO. After that was a game, again really low budget, called Knights Online.
Man,
The
never heard
first,
of these.
yeah, these are obscure, weird, like pre MMO um,
Gotta
games. I
Google
played a
this
little bit
now.
of Diablo. Does that count? Is that
Oh
kind of like
yeah, I think so. Ah man, I wish I. I don't know.
um, and then the World of Warcraft obviously was kind of like the first big kind of mainstream uh, MMO that I got really into,
What
and
was your? Were you for the Horde or
I
in the
played
Alliance?
both sides. I
Interesting.
started on the Alliance, moved to Horde, moved back to Alliance, moved to Horde, moved back to. Eventually, I just kind of, I had friend groups on both sides, and I just kind of played where whatever character I felt like playing.
So what was it about the MMOs that got you hook, line, and sinker? Was it like, did you get into a certain type of activity, or what was it?
Uh, I think it's progression. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's that kind of like that. It maybe it's not healthy. Maybe it's not healthy, but the dopamine hit that you get from accomplishing a level or getting a new piece of gear, etc., I find pretty addicting. Um, and honestly, it's the potential for progression too that gets me pretty or that has me pretty interested in like where Star Citizen could go too. You know, I very specifically am developing a fleet that will not or that will leave me a lot of room to progress and to get different ships and stuff like that. Uh, but yeah, I'd say it's primarily progression, though. I did get into like the big 40-man raids. We had our own guild and stuff like that in World of Warcraft, and that I very much the social aspect too was definitely became kind of one of the very important aspects of MMOs for me as well. Uh, and yeah, yeah. So combination of the social aspect and like that progression.
That's cool, man. Now I played a bit of WoW as well. I mean, I guess everyone kind of played WoW, didn't they? This is the most popular game out there. It's like,
Pretty much, yeah.
what was it? Wasn't it like 1% of the population of our planet played WoW at a time?
No, no,
I know it's
no.
pretty extreme.
That would be a huge number.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, at their peak. What were they like? I want to say 12 million. Maybe I'm lowballing it, but
I
yeah, no, it was up there. A lot of people played, but not 1% of the planet's population. Jesus.
no, it wasn't that much. I played geez, I'm having a hard time. Undead Warlock. That's what I did. I got up to Ice Crown, I think. That's about it for me. I threw the towel in after that. That was almost, almost what, 15 years ago or something. No, it wasn't that long. 10 years ago, maybe.
When it started, it was probably that long ago. Yeah. I liked the Lich King expansion. I think that was probably the best one. I played a variety of things. I started as a hunter. I moved to an undead warrior. Um, Uh, After that, what did I play? Played Rogue for a little bit. Then I played, went back Horde, and I played. Eventually, I made a Death Knight when that came out, and I played Death Knight for a long time, Tauren Death Knight. Um, that's actually where the term Masokast, or that's where the name Masokast came from. Actually, was
Yeah, where
from
did
that.
that come? Tell us more about that.
Well, my friend and I, we made 2 Death Knights at the same time, and we were kind of like playing them through, and we wanted good names for them. So mine was Blood Death Knights were supposed to be kind of, like all about self harm. So I named mine basically a play on words for Masokist, um, and that just kind of stuck. I just kept it because, one, I liked the name, and two, I liked the play on words, and three, I know I've said this on pretty much probably every podcast I've been on so far, but I feel like you kind of have to be a bit of a masochist to play Star Citizen at this
Laws. That's
this point
so
in the game.
true.
So yeah, so I think it's extra appropriate for this game.
That's so true. That's cool, man. Wow, that's a heck of a history you got there.
Well, it's a history. It's
Yeah,
a history.
I was hanging out with the guys from the yacht club because they're from like Vancouver. Like, there's a lot of
Hmm.
them in BC, hey.
Hmm.
And I was hanging out with them, and we were all just kind of sitting on the table, and we were more or less just talking about our resumes, like our video game resumes, on all the games that we played over our careers, quote unquote. So it's just really interesting how we're all these different people. We choose to select different games. Um, Anyways, so that's good. So how did you like the ISC yesterday? Did you watch it?
uh,
Did you
I
catch
did
it?
watch it. Yeah, yeah, I did actually watch it. One, I really love the direction they're going with the weapon attachment system. I think that's a really neat way of doing it. I like how they also kind of said that they intend on eventually adding the animations for so that you can see your character kind of like adding and removing those components um, when you do that. I thought that was awesome. Um,
Did you see the
let's see.
did you
Trying
do
to
you
remember
remember
the last half.
do you remember the discussion that we had last night on the other night cruise show about how it looks kind of like the old Cry Engine UI or Crisis UI? Did you see that?
No, no, I didn't actually. No, I didn't. I don't
Gosh,
recall. I don't. I never actually played Crisis, so like, yeah, I'm not really certain.
I'm gonna see if I can pull this up here. I want to show you side by side. But anyways, well, there was a Reddit thread about how it looks like the Crisis one. It's a pretty good Reddit thread actually, or is it like a subreddit thread really? It was the people who were salty and they're complaining about it, and I mean, I eat that
On
stuff
Reddit,
up.
shocking.
I know, right? No, it's like that's like my crappy news, my tabloid reading, my trash is reading the salty comments. I love it to death. It's great.
Yeah.
But I didn't play Crisis either, so I didn't know anything about the interface. So I'm like, that's interesting. But
Hmm.
do you know much about software development? Have you worked in software at all?
No, no, I can't say I'm an expert at all. The most I can say is that a lot of my friends have worked in various fields of the games industry, and I've kind of been able to absorb somewhat, through them, depending on what they've been doing. Though I never really knew anybody in the actual like development side of things, really, is insofar as like the actual programming, the nuts and bolts. Um, my most the friends that I hung out with, one was a producer or he started off doing like cinematography and like Need for Speed 2 and stuff like that, um, like camera angles and stuff. And then my other friend who's in the games industry was primarily a character artist and stuff like that. So that's about as much as I can say that I have experience with respect to any sort of development. Very much not so much on the software side and more on the like art side of things.
What's the is that are those guys in Victoria?
No, they were in Vancouver. Um, Ed's back in Vancouver, yeah, but he's been all over the world working for various studios. Scott's still over there in Vancouver, but yeah, they I remember back in the day when they were making Need for Speed games in the EA studio and in in Vancouver there before they closed it down. That was kind of both of their entry into game development, and my first experience going into an actual game studio, which I will say what you want about EA, but like man, that studio was sick. They
Man,
had
I
a
was just about to ask, like, what was that? Did you went to EA in Vancouver?
yeah, yeah.
What was that like?
Uh, well, it was Friday when we went there, so there was like their staff room had like foosball tables and like pool tables and like had a balcony access overlooking downtown Vancouver, which was stunning. They had beer on tap, they had a DJ, they had like a fully catered spread. They had yeah, like it was it was pretty awesome. I mean, I fully understand that it also like from hearing their stories, like the crunch times were pretty
Real.
brutal too, but it was pretty cool to go in there and see, uh just it was just a really neat studio and it seemed like the people who were in there, at least in the rank and file, like it seemed like they were pretty there was like a sense of camaraderie and that was pretty cool. Um
Where did these people go? Like,
oh
they,
they
they all left. Where did they?
well Ed, who I was talking about, who did the like cinematography on Need for Speed, on a bunch of the Need for Speed games, he went over to BioWare and he actually ended up doing work like that on Mass Effect, the Mass Effect series.
Right.
So he moved to Edmonton. Um, yeah, like a lot of people took up like teaching positions at the like art institutes of Burnaby and stuff like that. Um, yeah, like I think that's just from what I understand, like from what I've seen anyways, it seems like that's just kind of the way it is, like people in the games industry, at least from again, this is just from my like third hand experience, like you work at a place and then you go somewhere else and you work at another place and you kind of like hop around and work on different projects. It's pretty cool to be able to like to be able to hear them kind of recount like what cool projects they worked on. Like Mass Effect 2, man, I loved that game. I played that game end to end multiple times, and to know somebody who uh worked on that's pretty cool. Like
That is
that's,
pretty cool.
in my
Yeah.
opinion, one of the best games I've ever played, probably, at least the series itself. So I think it's pretty cool that they can go like, oh yeah, I worked on that, randomly. I remember we were like down in Costa Rica, and this was when they were working and making the Need for Speed games, and they were wearing their shirts, and like so many of the locals were just like, oh my god, and they're like, yeah, we made this game, and they were just like freaking out about it. It's pretty cool. A little bit of celebrity. I mean, I got third hand celebrity, but I'll take it.
They'll take it. Yeah. Man, I have not played enough video games. Like, I really wish I played Mass Effect because, like, even Elon Musk talks about that game, and that bothers me.
Play Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Two
You
and
can
three,
skip
just
Mass
skip
Effect
the
1.
first one.
Yeah.
I heard
I mean,
there's a lot of relationships in it.
sure. Yeah.
What's it actually about? Can you give me an Eli 5 of it? Is that possible?
Uh if I do, I'm going to go into spoilers.
Okay, all right,
And
all right.
I really think it's worth playing because, well, okay, depends. If you actually are planning on skipping the first one, then I can give you a kind of a summary. Um, Humanity basically has made first contact with like a galactic kind of an alliance of sort. In fact, I think it is actually called the Alliance. They're kind of the upstarts in the galactic community, and politically, they're kind of generally kind of frowned upon by the other older races because they feel like they're overreaching. Humanity's expanding very quickly.
Hmm.
They are expecting full representation in the Galactic Senate and stuff like that, and they've been pushing really hard for that. So there's a lot of bitterness over humanity, and that kind of sets the scene for this this environment where humans are kind of tolerated and not really super well liked. And then human colonies start going missing, and most of the galactic community just kind of like turns a blind eye to it and says like, well, we told you not to settle on these worlds and you did, so you're on your own. And you play a special forces character who's basically charged with going out and finding uh, what's happening to these human colonies. And throughout the first game, it initially seems like it's a race of intelligent machines called the Geth, that are responsible for abducting these colonies. But by the end of it, you find that the Geth are being used by an ancient race called the Reapers, and you start to kind of discover that the galaxy has been going in cycles where you have a proliferation of intelligent species, and that suddenly and violently seem to come to a mysterious end, um, over and over, and that's kind of what you discover kind of in the first one. And the second one, uh, yeah, I'll just say at the end of the first one, you die.
Yeah. Okay. Spoiler alert.
Nope. I told you I was going to spoil the first one, but like I said, play the second and third one. And yeah, it's a spectacular series because the choices that you make in each game actually reverberate down through the following games,
Okay.
legitimately, in relatively large ways. Um, and yeah, the writing's pretty good. The characters are really good. The gameplay is really fun and crisp, and uh, yeah, it's definitely. And then and I guarantee you, it'll end in a way that you will never have expected.
I'm just reading this right now on Wikipedia because I don't know anything about it. So the older ones, I guess, were built in Unreal, but the most recent one is built in Frostbite. It's quite a switch up. Did you play? So now I'm an expert. I'm a Wikipedia expert after reading about it. Did you play Andromeda, or did you just play the
No,
three?
no. I heard Andromeda was a dumpster fire, so I just never got into it.
Interesting. Okay.
Because it wasn't actually a continuation, really, to the first games. It's kind of more on its own.
Um, I'm gonna do this because we're supposed to talk about Star Citizen, but like, what was the visual fidelity like compared to Star Citizen?
Pretty good, but I mean, you can't really compare them because they're games that are like 15 years old now. I
Well,
I I don't know about the actual. I don't know how. Actually, I don't know when Mass Effect 2 came out, but I would say at least 10 years ago.
well,
So,
Mass Effect Andromeda is 2017.
yeah, well, again, I don't think that one counts. And at any rate, I can't actually comment on that because I didn't actually play it. Though I did hear that the facial expressions were like laughably bad, and like a generation uh behind the current games at the time. So yeah. So how does it compare to Star Citizen?
Yeah,
It's not as pretty,
not as pretty.
but they do a really good job, with what they had. The technology just wasn't there. The computing power, video power wasn't there. They couldn't even do, half of what Star Citizen's doing. Um,
Hopefully in the
they were
future,
much more limited.
hopefully in the future when like consoles will be able to run Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Wonder how far away from that future we are.
I don't think we're that far away. To put it in perspective here, like Mass Effect 2 ran on an Xbox 360, I think. So that gives you a perspective of like what the hardware of the time was capable of. Um, but honestly, and this is possibly an unpopular opinion, I think Star Citizen is going to end up on console.
I hope it
Um,
does, honestly, because I want it to hit mainstream for sure.
yep. I don't know about the persistent universe necessarily, but I know I highly suspect that Squadron 42 is going to end up on console, and I hope it does because frankly that's like the console market is far larger than the
Yeah.
PC market. So,
Could you
you know,
imagine this December? They're like coming to consoles near you.
yeah. I honestly, this isn't even a new idea. I'm reasonably certain that a lot of people, have already made this kind of a. And I know Paul from the Astropub um, has made this that same kind of an assertion. And yeah, I have no problems with that. I think the new hardware, especially, I think they announced the specs for the Xbox One X are like Ryzen 7, I think. Um,
I don't know. I
and
guess I could look it up.
yeah, and very specifically, Microsoft just says that they're really aiming for an integrated experience. So they're going to be the new Xboxes are going to be running on a version of Windows 10, essentially, like a console version of Windows 10. Um, so I mean, at that point, it's kind of like, well, there's no reason that you couldn't play Star Citizen on a Xbox then if it's essentially a Windows 10 machine or a Windows PC.
Man, Xbox is crazy. Like sometimes I just think all random about Xbox and like what Microsoft is doing is like, what if in the future they just like have these things that are virtual machines and you just plug it in your television and it automatically connects you with like a virtual machine to have all your games available there and everything plays there. Then a server would be your hardware.
I think that there's already examples of that happening. Shadow Cloud Gaming is exactly that. They have a giant server room filled with gaming PCs or like servers running gaming hardware, and you do exactly that. You download a client, and I don't know. You've watched enough board gamer videos, probably. You've heard them spiel for it all the time. You could essentially run Star Citizen on any sort of platform. You know. Uh, Sorry, my dog's going nuts in the background. Um, yeah, so like, yeah, I could see that happening. The one main issue I could see with that I still think is going to be really tricky for them to get around is latency, even with
Yeah.
the like Elon Musk's.
That's
Um,
bold. You're going down that road.
I am. I don't know why is it bold. I mean, it makes sense. The reason that they're putting this constellation up there is primarily for low latency banking. That those are going to be your first customers because um, you know beaming that information via laser through vacuum or near vacuum is fast. It's much faster than the current system where they have to fire it through this hub through this cable to this hub through this cable to this hub. Those are that they've already said those are going to be their first customers is the banking industry from like Wall Street over to London.
I think about
um
like every Tesla car out there that's just itching to have Wi-Fi. And imagine like every Tesla car just having Wi-Fi.
I
Like
actually don't know how if
you
it's going to
could
be mobile capable.
just imagine like you could use the Starlink satellites. They could beam down, and then it would essentially maybe bounce off of the Tesla cars because the Tesla cars could be their own wireless access points as well. They could be like network bridges.
I'm not really sure how that's going to work. From what I understand, you have to have like a stationary sort of like a satellite box basically. um uh, I don't know because it has like you have to be able to maintain like a link with the satellite, right? So I don't know. I suppose they have like satellite phones and stuff like that. I just
I
don't
mean,
know how it's going to
it's a
work.
pizza box, right? How much does it take to take some duct tape and stick a pizza box on top of a Tesla?
Yeah, well, it'll depend on how easily these satellites can maintain a lock, so to speak, on that pizza box. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't know how capable those satellites are going to be for like maintaining a connection that's moving. You know, as opposed to one that's like has an established connection and isn't moving. But I guess we'll see.
Soon, soon. Speaking
Yeah.
of soon, new Babbage. Just looking at the ISE from yesterday. What do you think of new
Oh yeah.
Babbage?
Okay, that was the other half of the other half of the ISC. I was like, oh, the first part was the one that stuck with me with all the like weapon modification and stuff.
Was it the UI or is the weapon modification that you're excited about?
It's the UI behind the weapon modification because right now it's clunky and tedious, especially when you're losing your gun every 2 seconds. um, but yeah, no, I think New Babbage looks stunning. I loved, um, except for the bar. I don't know what it is about the bar, but the bar seemed maybe it'll be better when it actually gets into the game. But I just felt like the bar looked like half baked. Um, Maybe it needs to be dark. Most bars need to be dark. um, but the I loved the tube system. I loved the like Google esque or Google headquarters esque like common areas with like the people doing like yoga and workouts in there. I just thought that was all really really fun. I really liked the habs there too. I thought the habs were really cool. I liked
It's got the
views
window
of the
now.
habs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I don't think I'll live there. Like in verse, I don't think I'll spawn there. Mainly because Microtech's like in the ass end of nowhere and not particularly practical place to live unless you're sticking, to there. So it's a relatively long jump to anywhere from Microtech.
I find it interesting that you said you were disappointed with the bar. Like, why does it matter? Like, what do you expect from a bar in Star Citizen, I guess?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's just like they knocked it out of the park. I felt with every other aspect of the city they showed, and then they showed the bar, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah,
So maybe lackluster, you felt?
yeah, yes.
Understood. I think I don't know. I think I agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah, I'm just looking at the videos for it right now. I don't really understand the whole point of a bar. I'm like, why do we even need to have a bar? And I can't really figure that part out.
It's a Chris Roberts staple.
I get you.
Yeah.
That's true. You're right.
But honestly, like I feel like there would be, like a club or a bar there, So I think from a lore perspective, it makes sense. Excuse me, the population's going to want kind of that sort of an establishment, so naturally there would be one, probably more than one. But yeah, so I don't really. Yeah, I think it makes sense to have one. As for why it's so important, I don't know. I mean, this is honestly one of the situations where I think Chris Roberts kind of shows his age a bit, because I feel like the whole concept of going to the bar and talking to the bartender and stuff like that is very much uh, like a relic of a bygone era, so to speak. Um, but yeah, I mean, even the concept of like meeting up with what's the Miles Eckhart in a bar or whatever
Yeah.
is it's like it's a little bit of a relic, but like I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's cinema. It's like it's kind of like plays into the whole cinema of the thing, like. Anyways, I mean, I get it. They wanted to provide like that place where people would go and kind of swap information, and I like the concept of what bars could be in Star Citizen, especially when you're dealing with in-game VoIP. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
and the fact that like if you have stuff going on your mobiGlas, other people can see that. I like the idea of like kind of having this hub where people could be either swapping information or maybe like eavesdropping to get illicit information, or or potentially planning a like a pirate heist or something like that based off of like what they heard two traders talking about at the bar. I like the concept of what sort of gameplay could spawn from the bar, like diegetically. But yeah, I mean, as for like what the importance is, I think it's primarily a Chris Roberts affectation.
Yeah, like I remember in Wing Commander, the bar in that one, like that's where you went for all your information. So maybe that
Mhm.
this is just going to be where you go for mission givers or
That's
something
what
like that.
I'm reasonably certain that's what they're driving for. Seems to be anyways.
But like, did you ever play Star Wars Galaxies?
No, I missed out on Galaxies, and I'm pretty sad about it, to be honest.
Okay, well, let me just tell you, if it's all right. Try not to. I can
Sure.
get you some toilet paper for your tears if it's too sad. But, um, man, everyone used the bars in Star Wars Galaxies, and it was so cool. Like, I don't even know why we used the bars, but actually no, they were across the street from the spaceport. That's why we always used them. But you know,
Perfect.
and like
Spacers
people,
Bar, man. That's gonna be a thing.
that's what it was, yeah. And like people would go and play instruments because there was like music, the music skill and the dancing skill. So the musicians would play for the dancers. So you'd literally
Cool.
go into it and you'd get the full Star Wars effect. And it was to,
Hmm.
what is it? Did you say diegetically? Is that the word for
Diegetic,
it?
yeah.
Diet. Yeah, that's what it's like. Organic almost. The
Yeah,
community developed it. I don't know, man. I hope we could see stuff like that in the bar. You're making my
for
brain run
sure.
now.
Well, I mean, there's role players who are interested in Star Citizen right now. I can only imagine that the population of role players will increase. So, I mean, one hopes one hopes that they would be, that they would also be kind of interested in using the bars. Though having them across from spaceports, man, like that's a good point. There's not a single bar that isn't a pain in the ass to get to from any of the spaceports. That's something they should change. You know, airport bars are a thing, man.
Well, all the spaceports are just such a long ways away from the bars.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Area 18, it's a trek to get to the bar. Hurston, it's a trek to get to the bar. Even in Levski, which is one of the most like kind of compact landing zones, it's a kind of a trek to get to the bar. So, yeah, I hope that they change that. That's potentially a good suggestion, actually.
Well, I'm worried that it might affect the fidelity component. So
How?
I don't know. I was just saying that. I'm sorry. Just try to throw
You're
f
just trying to
bombs
get
in
me to
wherever I
drink.
can.
Okay.
Yeah. So you said the tube. You'd mentioned the tube. I'm so surprised you talked about Starlink, but you didn't talk about Hyperloop.
Yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
saying it's like a Hyperloop. You don't think it's a Hyperloop?
It is basically a Hyperloop, yeah. Which they even said so
Did they
in
did they
the
call it? Is it called
no,
formally
they
called a
didn't call it
Hyperloop?
a
It
Hyperloop,
should
but they
be.
did say that they like it was a high-tech vacuum train with high rates of speed. So,
Wink, wink,
Hyperloop.
nudge, nudge, because we
Yeah.
all we all know what Hyperloop is, right? Can we assume
Yeah.
that everyone knows that?
Well, if they don't, they should they should. Because honestly, I feel like that's like the future of global travel.
I agree, man. Like with all the problems with Boeing right now, like we need it's I was reading a subreddit that was talking about how it's cheaper for to get like this giant metal thing to hurl itself in the air than it is for us to run a car down a track. You know, like we're clearly doing something wrong when it
Oh,
comes to
totally.
mass transit.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, air travel, as we're seeing with how many to go back to the whole human malware situation. Um, yeah, we're seeing how air travel is just like um, hanging on by threads in most cases. Like when this first started, what like three different airlines in the UK went under, like
Yeah,
pretty much
instantly.
immediately.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. The fuel costs are too high. There's very little prospects of making it more efficient because ramming a giant metal tube through air pressure at high speeds is very hard, very energy intensive. It just makes sense, like yes, it's going to take a long time for that infrastructure to develop, but firing something through a vacuum is way easier and way more energy efficient than ramming it through even the lower air pressure of higher altitudes. Yeah.
And just
Doesn't
think, like being in a plane, like you're all of the air is recirculated. So good luck. Like every time I go on a plane, I assume I'm gonna get sick immediately after. Like, what's that gonna be like in 2021? I wonder.
Well, the air is going to be recirculated in these pods too, so you're not going
Hmm.
to get away from that. even the longest stretches, even via Hyperloop, are like multiple hours if you're going across the Pacific, for example.
How far into the future are we, do you think, from Hyperloop? When will we have our first commercially used Hyperloop?
First one, not very long. For it to be like replacing global travel, if it ever does, I would say like a century.
100 years. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do you say not very long? Do you know something we don't know?
No, but they've already been they've already had multiple proposed routes between like is it San Diego and LA, somewhere on the East Coast between New York and Boston. I don't know. There's been multiple proposed routes already though, and the states have been on board with it. The local governments have been on board with it. So yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. Um, and not much time. I would say I would be surprised if we didn't see commercial Hyperloop routes in 10 years.
10 years. 10
Yeah.
years. Hmm. Far out, man. What a future. So, you like New Babbage? You're thrilled about New Babbage in 3.9?
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out for sure. But like I said, I don't think I'll stay. It's too far out of the way.
Yeah,
Crusader.
yeah, I'm
That's where I'm
excited for
gonna
that as
live.
well. Last
Yep.
night I asked Buster what her first food is she's gonna eat when
Yeah.
she gets
I
New
remember.
Babbage. So I'm gonna throw that question at you now. If you keep in mind all of the restaurants that are available at the space stations, which one are you gonna eat food from the
You know what's
first?
hilarious? I am like so practically focused in this game. I haven't even paid attention. I actually don't know. I haven't to this day. I think I've wandered through a food court, but I definitely haven't paid attention. I like burritos a lot though, so I'll just go with that.
That's
Though I
good.
also really do like noodles, and I do know that there's noodles. Yeah, either of those.
So there's another video. Yep, today. Did you ISC calling all devs?
Yes,
That's what it
the
was.
calling all devs. Yes. Oh, I was super interested in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because and this
yep.
goes into. Oh, sorry. Can I just jump into this?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. um, the like one of the things that I've always had as kind of a goal for my my stream is multi-crew. I think that the multi-crew aspect of Star Citizen is what really sets it aside um, from like other titles that are out there right now. Um, and that's what I'm as much as I grew up playing Wing Commander and I grew up playing, fightercraft style games, and I love them, don't get me wrong. The thing that really drew them to me was the prospect of large multi-crew ships, specifically in combat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be an engineer so bad. That's going to be like my primary focus when Star Citizen is officially out or is more of a thing, because one, I've played enough MMOs to know that everybody loves a good healer, and that's basically what an engineer is. And two, because like I don't know, like Battlestar Galactica, the new one the most recent one that came out was like I don't know, probably it was just crack for me when it was
I agree. Same
when it
here,
was
man.
happening.
Bear
And I just
McCreary did the best soundtrack, man. Like you
yeah.
can't. Nobody else has done
Yes.
something since
Oh,
then,
the soundtrack was unreal.
right?
Oh, it was so good. And yeah, and I just loved the like, like when you were in combat and you had like hull breaches going on, you had like the damage repair crews like sprinting around, screaming, trying to get things patched up, trying to like keep this ship together. I just think that is going to be so fun. Repair gameplay is one of the things I am most excited about as far as like a gameplay loop, I guess if you could call it. Um yeah, I'm super excited for all things multi-crew, and that's one of the primary reasons I started streaming was like I wanted to kind of cultivate uh like a community around like crewing up and going out and like playing on these larger vessels, because I think that is so cool.
I really think that the Star System Persistent Universe is just getting the Idris done. I think once the Idris is done, we're gonna have all of this beautiful stuff that comes from it. It's gonna be like the fruit from the tree.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's really the Idris that's holding things up. I think it's ultimately the gameplay that's holding up the development of other and release of other
Yeah,
capital
but
ships.
think about the like all the gameplay that's required for the Idris. Like you got to have your all your multi crew crap, and you got to have this like interface with the NPCs almost. Like they have to have the artificial intelligence so refined that like there's a use for them. They get
Mhm.
scheduling or whatever, and the player can also interact with them. You know.
Oh, okay, so we are talking single player here. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, essentially getting the Idris running, like all of those components that's connected with it. I feel like it's the PU in a nutshell.
Huh. I actually didn't think of it that way, but that's a good call. I guess in order to have though I always kind of felt like they would just kind of fudge things in Squadron 42 with respect to how the Idris worked because it was like very much a story element. I never really thought that they would be kind of almost demoing multi-crew gameplay, but I suppose it's possible. Like the whole point of this whole game, including Squadron 42, is to is that kind of like fully immersive experience, right? And it makes sense if if their goal was to have like the nuts and bolts of that ship working together so well that that it could actually be kind of piloted in real time by their AI crew.
I mean,
Though
if
even
they
as I say that, I wonder if I'm being too naive or too optimistic.
Well, it seems to be that way though, because it's like they keep saying once Squadron 42 is out, the Idris will be out. Like that's what it's always is.
Mm,
Like they're not going to release anything until Squadron 42 is out, as far as Idris goes.
yeah.
I'm surprised
Well,
they're giving us what they're giving us, to be honest, in 3.9.
yeah, yeah. I am too, honestly, but I suppose that am I surprised? Yeah, no, I'm still pretty surprised. I get that it makes sense too from a testing perspective because they can throw it in and literally have 50 people in a server, messing with all the assets and like stress testing it and trying to find ways to break it and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, while I think I was surprised to see that they were going to throw it in 3.9.
Yeah.
uh I'm I suppose it makes sense when I think about it from a development perspective, anyways, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I'd really like to know what the ulterior motive is there. It's unfortunate because they kind of like,
Hype.
you think it's a hype generator?
Oh, definitely, it's a hype generator. I refuse to believe that that isn't part of their considerations.
So 3.9 is in such a bad state, we got to give it like the defibrillators of hype.
No, 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 no. It has nothing to do with the 3.9 being in the bad state. But I mean, it's something that they can throw in and instantly have the hype train and the media and everything just latch onto and run with. You know, um, I don't know. I won't say that it's the only reason or it's the primary reason they're doing it, but I guarantee you it's a factor.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I don't disagree. I think you're right on the.
Plus, let's look at like how much stuff has slipped from the roadmap and from 3.9. You've had a lot of people talking about how 3.9 is going to be, basically a whatever patch. So it does kind of make sense for them to want to throw something in that makes people go wow again. And we
Yeah,
know they've had the external. Sorry, I keep pausing because I keep thinking I'm done and then I think of something else.
no, that's cool, man.
Like, we know they've had the externals done for a while now. I mean, we saw it in the International Aerospace
Oh,
Expo
wasn't that
2 years
great?
ago.
Man, that
Yeah,
was awesome.
yeah, we've seen them do Idris battles, a couple years ago. Uh, yeah. Okay, I'm done now for real.
No, okay. Passing the baton on here. No, I'm just looking at the Star Citizen or the calling all devs that we had. One thing that you actually didn't mention was the Vulkan integration. Did you catch that
Mm,
at all? Are you
I
interested in
did.
this the stuff at all, or is it too techy for your interests?
I wouldn't say it's too techy. I'm interested in it because I'm interested in all the inner workings. I don't think I understand it. Besides that it's supposed to be pretty revolutionary, as far as what we'll be able to get out of the game as far as performance goes. But yeah, like literally revolutionary. So I was streaming earlier today, and somebody in my stream was even went so far as to say it was like history being made. And and I don't know enough about the tech to know whether or not that's legit, but it did sound like it was going to be kind of a head and shoulders jump over the performance we've seen so far.
I didn't catch that. That seems like a pretty bold statement, though, because
Hmm.
like there's always a new graphics technology that comes out.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, there's a competitor to it. They're competing against with Microsoft. So for
Really?
their, I'm pretty sure. I thought that there's a DirectX and there's a Vulkan. Maybe I should look that up.
Uh, I thought I'm again. I don't really know. I don't really know enough about the tech to say one way or the other. But it was my understanding that they were kind of Vulkan was something that kind of worked alongside DirectX. But I could just be showing my ignorance here. Because I don't really know. I'm excited about Vulkan integration because from the sounds of things, it's going to be Vulkan is a competitor. Penguin says. Um,
Oh yeah, it says here that
oh wow. Okay.
Vulkan offers slightly higher average frame rates, so around 5% higher frame rate, and DirectX offers a slightly smoother experience, particularly
Penguin says a
in
hundred
video
times
cards.
better.
Well, that's not what Google's saying, Mr. Penguin, so I don't know what to say about that, but that's interesting. I mean, either way, you get DirectX 12 in there. And from what I got from the episode today, it looks like they've pretty much got DirectX 12 done. But it'll be interesting. I'm curious about Vulkan integrating their lighting because they did mention that.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the technical side of that, so I really don't know. I've heard that it's a very significant milestone, and I know that people have been asking about it for a while. Where is Vulcan? Where is Vulcan? Where is Vulcan? So the one thing that I will say with respect to the calling all devs is that I thought it was cool that they got somebody on there who clearly knew a lot about the like actual gubbins, so to speak, the like the nitty gritty of how this tech actually works. And from my perspective, anyways, it seemed like they gave like a pretty like actually technically in depth answer. I mean, as far as you can in a short time period like that, obviously, but I thought that was cool. I appreciated that. I just from a content like a video content perspective, I think it's felt like a more thorough answer than we've got with a lot of Star Citizen video content lately. So I appreciated it from that perspective, probably more than what the actual technical stuff actually said, because like I said, I don't really understand that so much.
I think as well, this hardware, this API is going to open up the doors for VR as well. This seems to be such a hot subject right now with the
Mhm.
current state of the world. We got to get into Ready Player One ASAP.
I thought, in fact, I built my last PC with the intention of playing Star Citizen in VR. I was dead set on it. I was like, I'm going to play Star Citizen in VR. But the more I've kind of thought things through and the more I've been playing on a higher resolution monitor, the more I think I've decided I don't know if I'm going to do Star Citizen in VR anymore.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
You have to elaborate. Tell us.
Um I I don't know what else to tell you besides that I've been thinking of more situations where it would be awkward to play Star Citizen in VR, you know, than situations where it would be amazing.
What's an
Or
amazing VR experience for you?
I don't know. Honestly, I actually don't really know. But like I will say that the difference between playing Star Citizen at 1080p and at 1440p is crazy. And from my understanding, at least the current generation of VR headsets are 1080p max because they require incredibly high refresh rate in order to keep people from getting sick. So the thought of going back from 1440p to 1080p makes me not as excited about it. Secondly, I would have to completely redo my my controls to kind of support VR. Like you pretty much can't use a keyboard because you can't look at the keyboard or see where your hands are. So you'd pretty much have to have a full sim cockpit setup, which is I don't have the space for that, and I don't have the desire to spend the kind of money it would take to kind of bring my sim rig up to a point where I could play it comfortably in VR. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. Like as much as I think it would be spectacular to be able to just look
Beautiful.
around, and be fully immersed in Star Citizen, I don't think it would work very well unless I were prepared to spend a lot of money. And I would rather spend that money on other things. And my cats are knocking over my green screen. Fucking animals. Hey, stop that.
Well, that's cool. So, yeah, I guess that's about it for calling all devs, really. Did you get a chance to check out that roadmap at all? Have any opinions about
I
that?
actually didn't. Was there any
Mhm.
major changes? Can you fill me in?
Not really. Yeah, there's I mean, first they're start working on the 4.1 a bit, which is exciting.
Hold
Um,
on. I'm gonna look it up right now.
yeah, for sure. I could link you actually if you want direct to the link. I could
No,
send
I
you.
got it.
Okay.
I already had the website up. I
Okay.
always have the website up. That's how much of a Star Citizen nerd I am.
Yeah, I getcha. No, I think though it's interesting to see them working more on 4.1.0 with the cargo decks. I don't understand why they get so much done there.
Get out of here, cat. Cargo decks. I was actually pretty excited about that. Um, Primarily because I really like the concept of being able to stash cargo that you hadn't sold. Um, because there's been more than a few times where I've been kind of just screwed over by having a load of something on a caterpillar or whatever, fly into the port and find that somebody has just offloaded a huge amount just before me, and now I got all this stuck on a caterpillar, and my options are basically travel a long distance elsewhere to offload it, or sit there and try to putz around until I finally offload it all. So I really like the idea of being able to like stash cargo in places. Um, and also I want cargo to be more physicalized, and I feel like that's kind of a step in the direction of having cargo more physicalized. Um, I am not really sure what I think. I don't think, I'm not really necessarily in favor of like cargo timers, even though it makes sense. But if those cargo timers were kind of linked up to like a physical kind of a like a cargo deck that things had to be unloaded onto and stuff like that, I think I don't know, it would just feel a little better to me. So I was pretty excited to hear about the cargo decks. I think that's going to be a neat addition to to the game.
Is cargo a big part of your gameplay right now? Do you do a lot of
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's funny because I'm a commercial truck driver in real life, and the thing that I really like to do, or one of the things that I really like to do in this game is truck drive in Star Citizen, essentially.
Do
So
you do
yes.
Euro Truck Simulator or
No, 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 no. I wouldn't do that. I mean, that's like a little too close to what I actually do. So like at least when I'm doing it in Star Citizen, I'm flying a giant spaceship, which is you know, that I get a lot of satisfaction out of flying large ships. Just like I get large satisfaction out of driving large trucks. So, like, but why would I do Euro Truck Simulator when I could go and drive an actual truck? You know, I don't get to drive a spaceship in my work. So I
That's
think
true.
that's kind of why it still has appeal to me, because it's essentially my chosen profession, but in space.
In space.
I don't know why. I don't know what it is about cargo trading that I've always gravitated to it. I in multiple different space games, I for some reason I just get a lot of satisfaction of buying low, selling high. It's just something I like. So,
No, that's cool. I mean, you're definitely talking to the right person.
mhm,
I do that every day. Looks like I'm just looking at the roadmap. I don't know if you still have it in front of you.
I do.
The restricted area rework went down. I guess they added some more tasks to it. But that's all that.
Mm.
Prowler went up, which is good. 11%
Yeah,
up.
that's really I'm really amazed by the Prowler. I think that they're doing a spectacular job on that ship.
Are you a Prowler owner? Is that a personal question?
No,
Are you a
no,
Prowler owner? No.
I'm not, and I wouldn't, because I don't really care about dropship gameplay. Um, it's just not my thing. But like, man, they did a stunning job at making that
They
ship
did
look.
a stunning job.
Yeah, it's very different from the other ships that are out there, like from the other races. Like, they've done a great job at distinguishing human to Banu to Tavaran, etc. I loved the like digital cockpit, that like, and how it like turns on and kind of like wraps around. Oh, so cool. That is so cool. I loved the way that the back end kind of unfolds to kind of like open up the rear doors. Yeah, like, I think that ship is really cool. I don't think I'll ever own one. I don't really feel the desire to own one, but man, that is a cool ship.
Cool. I agree. I'm not an owner yet. I'm not an owner. I'm not going to be an owner. It's definitely not my cup of tea. But I can't wait to fly it. I think it'll be really exciting.
Yeah. Wow. I can't wait to play with two size fives on the sides of somebody else's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So you're stoked about Crusader? That's
Mhm.
your gem.
Crusader's where I'm going to live. I like Crusader as a company. I love Crusader's design aesthetic for their ships. Just in general, I'm absolutely 100% a Crusader fanboy.
I think we'll be neighbors then. Like if they're still going to do the whole gas mining on the gas giants, I definitely intend to have my career there. So hopefully we see each other once in a while.
Mhm. I I was slightly sad and slightly glad when they replaced the loaner for the Banu Merchantman with the Caterpillar. Before it was the Starfarer, and I was kind of legitimately hoping to be able to experience some of the like gas mining and refueling gameplay before you know before it became the actual Banu Merchantman. But it seems like that's not in the cards. But I definitely want to play around with somebody in a Starfarer when scooping and refueling is actually a thing.
Man, they got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I feel like that is it compared to like the complexity, let's say, of mining. I feel like that one will be s- more simple. I don't think like and this is obviously speculation and a completely ignorant perspective, but I legitimately don't feel like that'll be, you know, much, as far as like as far as um additional gameplay and UI and stuff. I don't think that'll be as complex as, for example, mining. Where I think the complexity will come in is in the refining, because the Starfarer is a gas refiner as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it'll be really again. I think the complexity will kind of be like subsidiary complexities, like because when they bring in gas mining, they've talked about how you will be able to fuel your ships with different types of fuel. Um, and those different types of fuel that you would instead of just hydrogen, for example, would have different effects. Some might be, lower exhaust velocity but higher efficiency, so you would lose potentially maneuverability or acceleration, but you wouldn't burn through the fuel as fast. Others will be the opposite, where they'll be like higher combustion rates, but or higher exhaust velocities, enabling higher accelerations, but with less efficiency. So that's where I could kind of see the complexity coming in. But as for the actual like scooping of gas and refueling, I don't know. I don't. At least from where I'm sitting, I don't really see how that would be as complex as what they have right now for mining. But
Okay, let's open this can of worms, okay? Because I think about this all the time. If there's anything in Star Citizen I overthink, it's the fuel mechanic. So,
really, okay,
what I would imagine it to be is Microsoft Flight Simulator pilot's wet dream. So, you have to control your velocity, you have to control your altitude
yeah,
with
yeah,
complete precision, and
hmm
you have to essentially survey maybe like gaseous rivers, and maybe you have to weather them. Maybe you have to endure in extreme crosswinds, hundreds of miles of kilometers an hour in wind speed, and yet
This is
still
assuming that you're
maintain.
this is assuming that you're scooping from a gas giant directly. You'd also be able to do like nebula and stuff like that out there as well.
That's true, but maybe there's like a easy mode versus hard mode. The gas has got to be
Maybe.
different in a gas giant. Maybe it's just the density of the gas. They're more
Yeah,
sparse
for
in a
sure.
nebula.
That 100% makes sense. And you're right. Yeah, but when you think about that, that's not any new gameplay. That just is, that's just kind of being able to use your ship the way it needs to be used in order to kind of like maintain optimal gas funneling, speed. And that's kind of what I mean, right? Like, not that it wouldn't be skill based and it wouldn't be, interesting. It just even with what you've just said, I don't see that being like I don't see any new gameplay that they'd have to implement there. Like maybe some new UI, obviously some new
Yeah,
UI,
new
so you
UI.
knew, like where you needed to go to like maintain optimal harvesting. But the gameplay itself is just moving a ship, which we have. So
Actually, I think that the when I first saw that jump point transit that the Carrack did and how it had to like fly through the tunnel or
hmm
whatever and not fall out. That's kind of how I imagined the
yeah.
harvesting of gas to be, except that maybe more difficult than that. Maybe a little bit just more using instrumentation. That's what I hope, anyways.
Hmm. Well, you kind of have to. I don't know if you've sat in the cockpit of a Starfarer. It's not particularly. There's not a lot of viewing room there.
No, and that interface is circa
Yeah.
2014 ish.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I think gas. I think it'll be cool, but yeah. I don't. I'm hoping, anyways, that they don't have to do too much. And with building blocks coming out here, I would even hope that the UI would be relatively simple for the devs to put together.
In the newsletter today that put out, they had a little thing for Pyro. Did you see that?
I didn't read the newsletter. I'm pretty bad for not reading the news. I don't know why. I read well. I like reading, but for some reason I never end up kind of getting in and digging into new newsletters. You should have given me more homework, but I could have caught up for you.
No, it's better that you don't know. I mean, well, sometimes it's good to know, but it's not always required. Not having that knowledge. I mean, if people end up watching this, then they're just going to be learning it for the first time. So, but basically, it's like a propaganda poster for armor. What it looks like is that it looks like they're going to start like it's probably the next subscriber sets of armor, and they're just slapping a propaganda poster, and it's like save Pyro or for Pyro, people of
Okay.
Pyro. Either way, there's a Pyro reference in there. So I don't know. You think
Okay.
we're gonna get Pyro this year?
Yes.
Yes. So much certainty. Certainty.
Yes. Yeah. There's no reason we wouldn't. I don't know.
Well, I
I
don't.
mean,
I could think of a number of reasons.
yeah, but okay. So Planetech V4 has apparently vastly accelerated the rate at which they can generate planets. So it's not the planets that are a real barrier. Um, there's only one primary landing zone, which means that there's only one area that the artists have to really focus on kind of like tweaking. The other ones, if there are other ones in there, they'll be kind of like, like we have now, where they're just procedurally generated stations or outposts. So that's not a barrier. Um, you have jump technology, which they've already demoed, so it obviously kind of exists in some form or fashion. Probably doesn't take too much more to tweak, so that's not a barrier. Um, I think I mean, I guess the volumetric clouds and stuff like that. We haven't heard anything about that for a while, so like that could be a barrier because it's supposed to be well, as we've seen from the citizen con, there's supposed to be like a lot of gas and stuff, and that does actually make sense from an astrophysical perspective. If you had a very active uh red dwarf, which is what the pyrostar is, which is constantly throwing off um material and gas via solar flares and such, so volumetric clouds may be a barrier. um But yeah, other than that, the primary barrier I see is network related. It's the fact that there's only 50 people in a server, and when you add an entire solar system, like we already, it's pretty rare to run into people already. Uh, and then we throw another star system into the mix, and yeah, it's going to be pretty lonely.
Yeah.
So that's the primary barrier I can see. But yeah, I don't think that would stop them from releasing it, because it's too big of a PR move for them. Even if it does end up with like 50 people spread over two star systems, the media fanfare out of them, officially releasing the next system would be huge. So yes, I absolutely think we'll get Pyro this year. Um, if I had to guess, it would be at CitizenCon, because duh, it makes sense. Especially if they're going for fanfare, that's kind of their big fanfare event. That's my opinion. I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy? Yeah,
No, I think
you have
you're
more
right.
development experience than I do, so.
I know, but I'm a cynic. You know, I also worry about the network. I constantly worry about the network. It like keeps me awake at night because I know that Amazon, when Amazon originally acquired the rights to Lumberyard, they started developing it or started building up. They allocated resources to build up the network tech on it, but they abandoned the project. And I
Hmm.
don't know why. And maybe it could just be because CIG is doing it, and they're like, okay, well, these guys are already doing it. Why would we do the same thing? But hopefully, it's not because there's some type of quantum physical supercomputing problem with it or something that they just can't get to work. Because that would be damn tragic. What a time to find that out, hey? It's like, hey, we got
Yeah.
to go to Unreal now.
Oh God. Yeah. Um. I don't. I don't know, man. I don't know a lot about the networking side of things, so I can't really comment on that. I do know that they acquired Turbulent, or at least 25% of it, which I know isn't like primary. It's primarily their web developer. But, I don't know. And then to hear, like, didn't they even? No, they didn't talk about server meshing this. Oh, my cat makes a funny shadow. Don't you do it? Don't you do it? You get away from that green screen. Sorry, lost train of thought.
Server meshing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you might be right to be a cynic about that. It definitely has felt like the last couple times we've had the actual developers kind of comment on server meshing, it's been kind of like this harried look of like, oh my god, please don't make me talk about this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess you could be right there. you know, but Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know enough about networking at all to be able to
Yeah,
really comment on that.
me neither. And it's
Besides
so
that, it seems to be a big
complex.
challenge. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so complex. So 2020 is looking pretty exciting, not like it hasn't been already. So what do you got going on? What do you like? You're new to the streaming ish, so what do you hope to achieve? I guess the next year.
Um, I don't know if I want to achieve anything. This is very much something that I do for fun. Um, the only thing I could say is that I want to kind of like foster a bit more of a viewership that just kind of wants to bullshit about Star Citizen. Really, I
You're
really
in the right
enjoy.
place.
Yeah, I really just like I love, I really love kind of like having conversations with people like speculating wildly about, about the potential of the project, etc. So like basically I just like anytime I have somebody pop into chat who actually wants to chat, I'm just like, "Oh my god, yes, I've been so lonely." But so I think this year just kind of I'd like to just kind of build more people who just want to bullshit about stuff like that, so that we can have conversations about it. I guess from a gameplay perspective, it sounds like uh they're starting to really take multi-crew seriously, and that's exciting because like I mentioned, like that's kind of what my end goal is, with where I want my channel to go. I want to do multi-crew stuff. I want to play with viewers. I want to you know kind of uh, f- uh kind of foster that community of multi-crew enthusiasts. And if they do put the work in this year into multi-crew stuff, um I that's something I want to accomplish. If multi-crew really starts to kind of develop over the next few patches, maybe by the end of the year, I'd like to start, actively doing more multi-crew stuff, when it becomes fun.
Are you do you stream any other games or is it just Star Citizen?
Not typically. Like I play other games occasionally. I don't have a hell of a lot of time right now. Uh, so most of the time when I do play games, if it's either when I'm streaming or it's like I'm playing with my partners, and we just kind of do our own thing. Um, so I do play other games occasionally, but mostly I'm playing Star Citizen, and if I am playing Star Citizen, most of the time I'm streaming it because why not? I'm having fun. I hope other people would jump in and join me. So
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I try and do that as well on my stream. It's hard though. I mean, one thing I learned about streaming Star Citizen is it's like bipolar. It's like if the patch is good, our numbers are good, and if the
hmm
patch isn't so good, our numbers aren't so good. So I don't know if any other game suffers the same thing, but it's a real roller coaster ride.
yeah, maybe. I guess for me, like I said, it helps because it's very much a casual thing for me. So I don't really care about my numbers so much. I mean, it sucks when I'm like streaming and it's like it's just me in here. Why am I doing this? This is boring. But I don't really like so long as it's not just me and my channel, I don't really I have the luxury of not having to care because it's not my job or it's not something I'm trying to do for a career. It's just something I'm doing for fun and that I want to kind of share with people. So
Don't
but
want
I
to
hear
you.
you. Like there definitely does seem to be fluctuations, and and it does suck to be like I am talking to myself.
So you don't want to make it into a career. You don't. What's the future going to be like? I
I
mean,
don't
is streaming going to be the next way to make money
know.
in the future?
With Oh, okay. If you want to go into like
That's
futurism
where
on
I.
this,
That's where I want to go. Yeah, yeah.
I think absolutely. I think it very much could be. We're seeing the kind of the rise of the gig economy. Now I think if that continues to rise and people Though I will say, and this is going to sound very socialist of me, so if any Americans are in here right now, just I don't know, plug your ears or something maybe. But I feel like a lot of this centers around the concept of a universal basic income. And yeah, absolutely. If there was a universal basic income, I could absolutely see the economy becoming more of a digital economy where people find value in entertainers like streamers, or people's supplementary income becomes more of a gig economy, or like comes more from the gig economy. So uh, yeah, I could see stuff like this becoming kind of more of a. I think we're already actually seeing kind of like a pretty amazing surge into the popular pop culture with the idea of like streamers and influencers and stuff like that. Even over the last like 5 years, just streaming and stuff has exploded. So I could see it becoming kind of more of a primary income for a lot of people and becoming kind of more of a legitimate sort of uh, a legitimate quote. I'll say quote unquote legitimate profession, because I know that a lot of full time streamers have hard times convincing um, you know other agencies that it is in fact a legitimate profession. Um, but as for whether I will kind of pursue that route, I don't know. I like I said, I'm not really doing this in any way to kind of like foster a sort of professional career. I'm doing it because I have a good time. Would I would I absolutely turn it down if I had the option to continue doing this thing that I love, and and kind of maintain my quality of life? I'd consider it. But no, for me this is very much right now just something I'm doing because fun. I enjoy interacting with people, and nerding out about Star Citizen, and that's pretty much as far as I'm kind of allowing myself to really think about it.
Cool, man. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. I think we should wrap it up there. You feel good?
Yeah, it has. We've gone on, haven't we?
Yeah. 1 hour and 32 seconds. All right, one hour 32 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh man, I was like, oh man, we've almost hit the 2 hour mark, but I guess that's like a bunch of pre-show.
Yeah, we had some mess around in 890 Jump talking politics before. You know what's funny is that you're the third person I've talked to this week about a basic income, standardized basic income.
Mm.
And one dude is in Alberta, another guy is in Switzerland. You might have been on the stream we were
Whoa.
talking about that actually.
Whoa, you had somebody from Alberta talking to you about a universal basic income? Whoa. Whoa. For the Americans out there, I don't know. Canada calls Alberta the Texas of Canada. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised to hear that they're pretty fiscally conservative. Let me put it.
And it's
Um,
funny because they're the wealthiest province in the country, so for them to be fiscally conservative doesn't seem to make much sense.
yeah.
Dude Fest
Well,
says Alberta isn't as conservative as people think.
uh, I mean, if you live there, I mean, obviously you're the authority. I grew up an hour away from Alberta, and I did a couple years working in the oil fields in Alberta. And from what I experienced, it was pretty conservative. Though I will admit that I was spending most of my time in the kind of rural areas, not in the urban centers. But yeah. Anyways, I'm still kind of surprised that the UBI conversation was happening there. Pleasantly, I
Well,
suppose.
well, like I'm glad you said this because I was surprised as well. So we get that, but it's weird because I'm pretty sure they still have like co-ops. Like they have the fuel co-ops there, don't they? I know they got them all over BC, the fuel co-ops. I'm pretty sure they're in Alberta, and I'm pretty sure they're in Saskatchewan as well.
I don't know.
Haven't come
I
across
mean,
those too much, eh?
I don't know. Do co-ops indicate um, socialist mentalities? I don't know where you're going with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, co-ops are a social corporation. That's what it is to be a co-op.
I suppose you're right. I just have always just kind of treated them like any other business.
That's how
Well,
I've.
Mr. Canuck.
That's more or less how I've designed Ultima, is to emulate the co-op, the Canadian co-op structure. How you doing, Crazy Canuck? Yeah. It's unfortunate he's coming in here because we were just about to
Yeah, just wrapping up.
finish her up. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to? Any icing you want to add on the cake?
Um, I don't know. Do you like Thai food?
I love Thai food. Do you
Okay,
suggest?
Suk Chai Thai. They're downtown.
Yeah.
When things are less crazy or if they're still open, that is the best Thai food outside of Thailand that I've ever had.
Do you ever have KFC? Like
Uh,
like Victoria KFC, Korean fried chicken.
oh, is that the what's that place called? Is it actually called that? No,
It's like a genre of food. There's like five quote unquote KFC restaurants in
right.
Victoria.
Yes. Yeah, one of them we just discovered. God damn it, what's it called? Uh
Is it Thunderbird?
Chicken 649.
Oh yeah, that's the other popular one.
Oh, so good. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll wrap it up then. That's Masokast. This is the first episode of the Late Night Crew Show. Thanks so much for watching, guys.